Hello and welcome to the Peak Endurance podcast from sunny Scotland. Yay!
You can say that today.
I can, well, not at the well, kind of at the moment.
Yeah.
I'm Isobel Tate.
And I'm Ron Tate.
And we are the Peak Endurance
Peak Endurance
Podcast. Yes.
Podcast.
And we are awesome.
And we are also coming to you from the
Bonny banks of Loch Ness.
Loch Ness. We can look out our window and see the loch. Haven't seen the monster yet, but we keep on looking. So yeah, we're what, about a week into our
more than a week. What's today? Wednesday. Week and a half.
We got here last Monday.
That's right. Yeah. So just over a week.
Yep.
And here we are. And today we climbed Ben Nevis, which is the highest mountain in Scotland. We're not sure if it's the UK. I'm pretty sure it's just Scotland.
Can't remember.
Can't remember. As you can see, we've done our research.
Yeah. It was a high mountain anyway.
It was high. It was, and there were a lot of people. We're going to make a video for YouTube once we get home, because I'm not going to be doing that while we're away. But you will see when you eventually watch that there was a lot of people.
On the way up, we were just constantly passing people.
Taking people. And some people didn't like it.
No, some people didn't like it. Some people refused to move out the way. So we had to engage elbows.
No, we did not.
Sounds better if we did.
Most people were actually really good, and like no one was playing music or any of those annoying things. So most people were pretty good. A lot of families with kids, young kids.
Yeah, that was
and
very
it's
impressive.
A tough walk because it's really rocky, and it's 13,000 meters climbing in 8Ks. That's a lot.
That's a lot,
especially for little legs. Speaking of little legs, we saw a couple of sausage dogs making the way up.
Very impressive. Like the way they were kind of jumping up the stairs, and that must have been exhausting.
It must have been. It was very interesting. It was cool. Lots of dogs, lots of lovely people. And then once we got to the top, there was a lot of snow, a lot of fog. It wasn't as windy as yesterday. Nowhere near, thank God, because that would have been diabolical.
Yeah, there was like once we got up to a certain level, there was a bit of wind, but nothing.
That's normal when you're getting a little bit higher.
Yeah.
But yeah, nothing terrible. But I was glad I brought my thicker gloves today. Yesterday we went to the Cairngorms and we ran along Ridgeline, and that was pretty windy. And
we spent. I was probably
8K.
Yeah, across the average line.
I reckon about 8K.
Yeah, super exposed, and just so
everything windy. Here is exposed because they've chopped down all the trees.
Yeah, but it was just so windy up there. We felt like we were going to get blown off the mountain, and for the most part, we were running into the wind as well. So,
but we've got more to say on that later.
Yeah.
So basically, yes. So we left Melbourne, Australia, Sunday night. We got to the UK Monday lunchtime-ish. We go to get the hire car.
Yep. And so, when you get there, you show them the license, and they saw mine and they were happy with that. And then they looked at Isabel's and put it in the computer, and nothing came up. And they were like, did you book a second driver? I was like, yeah, we did. And then he looked properly and goes, oh, this is expired.
The thing is, it's not actually really expired. It just looks like it is. It says it is. But it was due on the 20th of April, and I paid for it because I like to pay. As soon as I get a bill, I pay it. So I paid it a month before it was due. I just haven't been in to get my photo taken and get the new plastic card. So the plastic card is expired, but not my license. If I got pulled over in Australia, they'd go look at it and go, oh, it's expired. But they'd put it through the system and they'd go, no, it's not. You moron, go get your photo. And the thing is, I was like, oh, go get a photo. But it was like, oh, it's in Burwood. I've got to go all the way. 15-minute drive to Burwood. So, and the thing is, I'm so busy with work.
Needless to say, it didn't happen. And needless to say, now that we're in the UK, I am driving everywhere.
Yeah, so I can't do any of the driving. Gosh darn it. But I actually wanted to.
Yeah. You did.
I did. And I've driven in the UK before, so it's not like it's anything that I'm scared of. I'm used to those windy roads. I used to, when I went to do the Three Peaks, every day I drive out to the Yorkshire Dales, and that was a pretty tricky drive too. And
the good thing with driving in the UK is that they actually drive on the same side
Yeah,
of the road
so
as us.
easy
It's one of the
peasy.
few
I mean,
countries that drive
yeah,
on the same side of the road as us.
I've
So,
driven in Canada for a year and on snow and ice, and I think I can handle driving the British back lanes. So it was not intentional, in spite of Ron telling everybody that. It was actually an accident,
Yeah,
and
so
I was
now-
actually really disappointed.
So now she's forced to have a sleep in the passenger
Yes,
seat.
and I do struggle with staying awake in a warm car.
Yeah.
So yes, so I do sleep every time we drive to Iran
Yeah.
on the way there and on the way back.
And on the way there today, it was about an hour and a half,
Yeah.
thereabouts.
I didn't sleep this time.
No, not on the way there, but it was beautiful. Like driving along the locks, there's like a canal that runs the length of Scotland, which is linked by, or sorry, it's locks that are linked by a canal. So pretty much all the way down, we were just driving
by water.
By the water.
Oh, look, it's beautiful. It's always beautiful. Everywhere in Scotland is beautiful. We've been to castles. We've been to the Isle of Skye. We've done lots of things already. So on to the meat and potatoes.
Maybe you tell us about the Isle of Skye.
So we went to the Isle of Skye because I was doing a race called, funnily enough, the Isle of Skye Ultra.
Yes. Yeah.
And it follows the Isle of Skye Trail, which goes from one end of the Isle of Skye to the other, and it's about 75 to 79 miles, which is about 125 to 130 in normal language.
Yes, in Australian.
In Australian. And so it was never an A race. It was never, well, when I first entered it, I thought it might be an A race, but then I got convinced to reapply for Barclay again. And I knew I would get into Barclay because I had pulled out the year before, and it would roll over, right? I'd pulled out due to ill health, and so it rolled over. So I knew as long as I applied, I would get in, right? So I got convinced because I'm a sucker for peer group pressure. And I got in. And so then my training was like the Isle of Skye is quite flat-ish and a lot more runnable. And Barclay is completely the opposite.
Yeah.
So, of course, all my training was for massive vert. And then once I got back, I was sick as a dog for a couple of weeks. So really, I probably got, 4 weeks of training?
About 4 weeks.
4 weeks of training. So really, I was realistic. I knew this wasn't going to see me in peak form. For that kind of runnable race, you really need to train the running. Coming from massive vert, just hiking training, like my long runs were hikes, just up and down. I mean, I'd run down, but it was, a lot of hiking. Time-wise, it was majoritively hiking. And so then this was a runnable course. I'm building enough excuses.
Well, you started. That's excuse number one.
Yeah. But it's fair because I went into it, and that's also why part of what the problem was is I feel like I wasn't fully invested in it. Like I said to Ron before the start, I'm not nervous. Like, this is really unusual. I'm not nervous. And I think I wasn't nervous because I kind of was like, whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever. But by the same token, it didn't even cross my mind once that I would not finish. I just assumed I would finish. I just thought, well, it won't be my best effort. It'll be hard. The weather will be cold. But then there's cold, and there's Isle of Skye cold.
Yes.
I've been in Canada in negative 20 degrees that was not as cold as the Isle of Skye. I've been in Canada in less than negative 20 degrees, and it wasn't that cold. So the weather had been beautiful. The week leading up to our arrival, beautiful sunshine. 20 degrees. Yeah. It was forecast for the day of the race to be pouring with rain all day, gale-force winds 20 miles per hour, which is 32 kilometres an hour, which is decent, isn't it?
Yeah.
And can I tell you, up the top, it was harder than that.
And a top of, I think, 12 degrees.
In the lowlands.
In Celsius.
Yeah.
But one thing that I've seen is the feels like temperature is a good 10 degrees lower than the actual temperature.
Yeah, because of the wind chill.
Yeah.
And of course, the Isle of Skye is even worse with the wind chill because it's a little island.
And it's an island, and it's a northern island, so the wind howls off from the Arctic. There's nothing stopping it.
No, so that's excuse number 2.
But that was a good excuse.
Oh my God, because that's basically the thing that got me.
We did look. It was either before or after, and that feels like temperature was 0.
Yeah, I think that was the morning of
Yeah.
when we got up the next morning.
Yeah.
So anyway, so I went into it, I rugged up. I wore more clothes on the start line than I ever would normally wear.
And interestingly, the start line wasn't too bad.
No, it wasn't.
Was a bit chilly, but there was no rain.
I was like, I had high hopes.
Yeah, the wind wasn't too bad.
She had high hopes for me. Anyway, yes.
I even thought about starting without your coat on.
I did,
but
and I could have.
When we looked around, every person was wearing.
And
a coat,
as we all know, I'm a sucker for peer group pressure, so I started with my coat, and I was instantly spewing. Within a K and a half, I took it off. When we hit the first little incline, but I did put it on again. So we took it off. I took it off, and I was wearing a thick t-shirt, so a thick one. Actually, this one that I've got on, peak endurance coaching one, and it's quite thick, and sleeves, and my lecky gloves. And these sleeves have mini gloves that come to here, but I can also wrap them over my fingers. 3/4 pants, thick socks. Like I was fine for normal weather and for normal cold weather. Anyway, so then after about 4K, we dropped off the road into the bog from hell that went for 6 kilometers of just jumping bog, and you would sink halfway up your shin into ice cold water, and then you'd run on this other sort of stuff. I don't know what it was. It was some sort of plant, and you would actually bounce on it like you're on a trampoline, like bouncier than what was at the Cairngorms, let me assure you. And then I sort of halfway through, I started to recognize what was the hardest soil or surface and what was the boggier stuff. So I was starting to recognize it. So I was getting a bit better at it. But, I hurt my ankle before Barkley. I never really spoke about it because I just didn't want to jinx myself. And oh my God, it was hurting that ankle. Like I think I've pulled a ligament or something because it's really quite painful. And it was, because my feet were just twisting and turning on this bog. Like you could not get any kind of grip whatsoever. But in saying that, I wore sort of a lighter weight pair of shoes because I had been told it was boggy at the start. So I was glad with that choice of shoe. Anyway, so that was fine though. Like I could live with that. And then it did change to trail, and I was like, oh, well, I'd been told it was going to be bog for 40K. And so that was actually not that bad. And then so I saw you at the 10-kilometer aid station at 11Ks.
Yeah.
And I'd put did I have my jacket back? I didn't have my jacket on then.
Yes, you did. I'm pretty sure you did.
Did I?
Yeah.
Potentially, but I think I had it unzipped.
Yes, you did. Yes.
I think when we were going up one of the little climbs, it started to get a bit misty, that misty sort of rain. I thought, oh, I've done this before in Australian races. Oh, I won't put my jacket on. And then I ended up freezing to death. So I put it on and I was fine, right? And then I saw you, and that's after the 11Ks when the misery started. Yeah. And I set off and it wasn't too bad, but then it just started pissing down, like driving rain, because with it was, it felt like 50-kilometer-an-hour winds, and it was headwinds, and it was lifting me off my feet, pushing me backwards, pushing me sideways, driving rain into my face. My leggings were just dripping water. I was wearing a hat because I knew it would rain. It was just dripping everywhere, but the wind was trying to blow the hat off my head. It was just awful. And I was just going along going, fuck, 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 fuck. At first, I wasn't too bad. Like, I didn't do that at first, but I was like, oh, this isn't so bad. I can survive this. Like, this is all right. It's cold, but it's not terrible. And then I needed to do a wee, of course, because when it's really cold, that makes me need to wee. And so I had to go and hide somewhere, and pulling your pants down in that kind of weather is not my idea of joy. So, and speaking of, there were no toilets on the start line either. Like, that's pretty bad with 100 nervous runners. And so then I rejoined the group. I dropped a few places, but it was like, it was worth it because I felt so much better. Anyway, I kept going, and just, oh my God, it was just horrendous. Like I couldn't see more than 50 meters ahead of me. There was water just dripping off my nose, my chin, just the one of them, my eyes, my jacket was just flapping against me and freezing. Oh, it was so cold, so cold. It was unbelievable. I've never been that cold. And at first I was like, oh yeah, I can do this. And it'll be good because the race will have a high DNF rate, which means I'll do really well. It's the only way I can do well these days. And I thought I can do really well if I just stick it out, and I'm tough. I can stick it out because normally I am tough. Not today. And then, of course, I needed to go to the toilet again. And there's no hiding up on those mountains because there's no tree coverage. There's no big rocks to hide behind. There's nothing. So I'm coming along and I'm getting to the point like, holy crap, I have to go. Like, I have to go and I have to go now. And there was this little tiny mound and I could see the trail behind me. And I knew if I was behind the mound, I could still see the trail, but it was like, I have to go. And I just ran there and ripped my pants down. And I'm like, and I turn up, look around, and there's this guy coming. And I'm like, oh my God, what's the matter?
I thought I heard something.
With my ass hanging out. And oh my God, it was so embarrassing. But what could I do? I had to go. I had no choice. So I very sheepishly joined in behind him again.
Not in front of him.
No. And then I started catching him and he started sprinting. Because he turned around and saw me catching him. He must have been like, oh, I'm not her. Run.
I've already seen too much of that.
And but then I was spewing. I lost him because then I got lost. Because the course was saying go such and such way, but the trail was going that way. And the way the course wanted me to go, it was dangerous. And I sort of went down that way. So I went down the trail. No, I'm definitely off course. So I went back, went down the other way. No, I thought, no, I'm not going to do this. I'm on my own in the middle of nowhere. I know I've got a tracker, but all the same, if I fall and I'm sitting there, I will freeze, literally freeze to death before help can come. So I went down the track. I thought, fuck it, I'm going to stick to the main trail and maybe it comes around. And it did. It came around and it met up with where I was meant to go down because clearly they made the course map on GPX. They didn't do it by running it. Right. They probably followed what is supposedly the trail on maps, but which is through human activity has changed, as trails always do. Yeah. Right. And that's what I was counting on when I decided to stick to the trail. I counted on it having changed due to people going, that's too dangerous. We're going to go this way. Yeah. Right. So I'm like, oh, thank God I figured it out all by myself. I'm awesome. And then I got lost again because it came across this bit and there was like this fence on the ground. And it was like, I thought, well, normally we end up running alongside the fences. And I sort of stopped and my map on my watch, the arrow was swinging everywhere and the line. And I'm like, well, does it go along the fence line? And I started running along and I looked down. It was like, yeah, it's following it. And then I looked down again and I'm totally off it. And I'm like, oh, okay. So I went back to the spot where I knew I was definitely on the line. And then I went a different way. And at first I was following it. And then I'm like, no. And then I went back and then I went back along the fence line. And then I came back. And as I'm turned around from that bit, I saw another guy coming down the hill. And I'm running to him as fast as I could. Oh, God, I nearly fell off my chair. Mm-hmm. And I ran up to him. I'm like, going. And he's like, oh, it's really hard, you know. He goes, wasn't that bad? That bit terrible. I think he went down the bit where the course sent you. And I'm like, yeah, it was bad. Because he must have followed that because he was very much following his map, which maybe I should have. Anyway, he directed me where to go. And so we went up, but then we started getting off course again. And we're like, what's happening? We're off course again, but we're on the trail. Well, one of the trails, clearly, because then we saw some other guy and he goes, no, we've got to be up on the ridge line. And so we have to traipse through all this gorse undergrowth up to the ridge line, which we find another trail, which is then the course. Yeah. So by this time, I've been lost 3 times. And on that second time when I was lost, I was really frightened. Like there was no visibility. So even if they were looking for me, if they would not necessarily see me. I was wearing black pants, a green, earthy green jacket. I wouldn't be standing out, you know. I didn't have a flare. So, you know, you would be, and I was a little bit frightened because you spend a lot of time on your own in that race, and the map wasn't working because it was just swinging here, there, and everywhere. And then of course I needed to wee again, but I didn't go because these guys were quite nice.
Did you want to drive them off?
I wanted to kind of hang with them. So I ended up getting ahead of them. And then we got to the store STORR
Yeah.
section, which is a big rock, which is, they show all these photos of this beautiful big rock in the race. And of course, it was so foggy you couldn't see it.
You ran straight past.
I ran straight past it, going, I'm pretty sure that's it. Like, God, I can't see anything. And every man, woman, and child tourist was there. God only knows why. They had their plastic ponchos on.
Because there was a major car park, which is where the aid station was, which was where I was waiting.
Yeah.
And people, like lots of people, parked there and walking up to that monument.
Anyway, I was so busting, I couldn't run downhill. So the two guys that I'd been with and I'd run ahead, they caught me and passed me. And the South African guy goes, "Oh, did you get lost again?" I went, "No, I've just slowed down." I didn't want to say I'm busting for the loo and every step feels like my bladder's going to burst. I didn't want to say that. And I was just having a miserable time. It was just like, I was doing that race for fun, as a fun introduction, see the trails. It was just awful. The wind whipping me, I was drenched, I was freezing, my teeth were chattering, I was that cold and I could not control it. And I thought, it's only going to get worse. This is kilometre 35, it's going to get worse, because it was meant to get colder and more rain during the night. And I had another 20 hours of this to look forward to, plus the weather getting worse.
Yeah.
So when I saw you, well, first of all, I ran past you going, toilet.
Like, I was calling out your name and you were just like so focused on the toilet. You just ran past me. I'm like, Isobel.
I'm like, the toilet.
But I'm like, but that's not the toilet. The toilet's over there.
And I'm like, whoa. Because there was a sign. Anyway.
Yeah. So, the building that you're at the door of wasn't the toilet. So you had to hold on.
It had a sign too. And I'm like, oh, take my poles. I was so busting, and I got to the toilet, and then I came back out going, what did I do with my poles? I could not even remember what I'd done with my poles. I'd been that delirious with needing to go to the bathroom. So that whole bathroom thing just ruined the race too. Like, it just ruined it for me, because the whole 30 Ks, all I could think about was how much I needed to wee. So I mean,
so then when you came back from the toilets,
I just said no.
You were in tears. You had enough.
I said, this is not fun.
I just don't want to do this.
This is not my idea of fun. It is so cold. I said, I'm just freezing.
Your lips were turning blue.
Yeah, I was just so cold. I was just like, nah. Like, and you said, do you want to get changed? I'm like, what's the freaking point? I'm just going to get drenched again within 2 seconds. And it was like, I mean, I could have put on an extra top as well, I guess. But, and that would have kept me a little bit, but nothing besides big puffy, huge puffy would keep you warm. And even then, that wouldn't keep you warm. I was just not prepared for the level of cold of British summers, of the Scottish summer. Oh my word, so unbelievably cold. And like, no, you, dear listener, will be listening to me explain it, and you'll go, But can I tell you, I did the same. People said how cold. No, until you actually experience it, you have no idea how bitter it is. One of the guys that came from Australia, Hugh, who is also Scottish, and he did the race. Well, he dropped out at 55K, so he got a bit further than me. He said, and he's raced in the Arctic, he says it was colder than the Arctic.
Yeah.
Now, he's Scottish, so he lived most of his life in Scotland, so he's used to this weather. And he said it was terrible, awful, and he couldn't handle it.
Yeah.
And that it was colder than what he dealt with in the Arctic. So I didn't feel like such a wuss. They ended up having a 15% finish rate. 15%. So out of 100 people, that means 15 people finished.
Yeah. And we're reading accounts of people getting to, the 100K point
or whatever.
Yeah, 100K point and just not being able to go on because it was too cold.
My other friend, David, he pulled out at 110K. He had 25K to go.
Yeah.
20 to 30K to go. And he pulled out.
Yeah.
And I knew I could have kept going at 35K, but I had a pretty strong feeling that I was not going to be able to handle the cold for another 20 hours, and that I would pull out and I'd have gone through needless hours of suffering to still DNF anyway.
Yeah.
And so I thought, I might as well just pull the pin now, because seriously, and as we drove off, I saw the people that I've been running with, they're running down this horrible, the side of the road, and they're basically in a trench, and ahead was the next mountain they had to climb, and it was shrouded incline, and I thought it's going to be exactly the same.
Yeah.
And I was just running along that ridge line for 20 k's. Like we did 8 k's yesterday, and you find that hard.
Yeah.
Admittedly, it wasn't raining, but you find it hard, and it wasn't raining.
Yeah.
So try doing that for 20 k's in blinding rain. It was awful. Like I don't know how else to explain it, but my mantra was fuck, 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 fuck. I think it kind of warmed my lips.
Just before Isobel had gotten into that aid station, I was just chatting to some hikers who were asking me where the runners were actually heading, and I told them, and they had just walked over that, and they were like, "Are they really going over there?" It's like, you know, good luck to them. That's super impressive, because that was terrible.
Yeah, that's right. And it was awful where I was.
And they were hikers wearing full winter gear.
Yeah, when you're hiking, you can wear a lot more gear.
Yeah.
So it was just and just the trail that wasn't bog was like a river. It was just like splashing through a river. So you're trying to run through a river or run through a bog. Not one itty bit of it was fun.
Yeah.
Not one. Nothing. So, but I also think, and this is what we're going to get on to, is I was not prepared for the elements. I think if I'd been a little bit used to it, I would have gotten a lot further, fared a lot better. The British people didn't seem, not all of them, some of them didn't seem too phased by it. Me and the South African guy were going, he's like, oh my God, it's only going to get worse. And I'm like, I know. You know, South Africa and Australia, we're not used to that kind of weather.
No, and both of us have just come out of, you know, summer,
the never-ending summer.
Warm, dry
we
summer.
haven't even had autumn. We had 1 week of autumn before we left.
Yeah.
Before that, it was 25, 26.
Yeah, 2 weeks before that, we were doing our long run in 28 degrees.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, you're right. We did our last long run. Well, second last long run. Yeah. So in 28 degrees, and then oh my God, it was. But this is why, I mean, admittedly, I could not train in that weather. I couldn't. Like, I had no opportunity to train in that weather.
We didn't have that kind of weather, so we couldn't train.
No, so we couldn't train in it. But if you're the kind of person that hops on the treadmill as soon as it rains, stop it. Okay? You need to be prepared. Even if you're going somewhere that is going to have beautiful weather, even if you're, you still need to get used to running in weather that is not comfortable. And I always have, like, I always run in the rain. I always run in whatever the weather hands me. Like, I've always been like that.
Yeah.
And I don't have a problem with it. Like I said, in Canada, I used to run every day before work. So at about 4:30 in the morning, right through winter, I did. It didn't matter what the temperature was. I just got up. I went out for my runs in the rain. Oh, not rain, in the snow, in the sleet, in the ice, everything. I would get out every morning and train in that. So I'm not afraid of cold weather, but a lot of people are. And the only way to get used to running in shit weather is to run in shit weather.
Yeah.
And the shit weather could be heat. So if you've got a hot race, don't run inside on the treadie with the aircon. You're not going to be ready for a hot race if that's what you're doing. And even if you're going to a hot race and you've got cold weather, still train in that, because it makes you tough. Makes you mentally tough. Yeah. I was saying to Ron, no wonder Jasmine Paris finished Barkley. She trained through a Scottish winter before her race.
Yeah.
No wonder. She'd have been tough as bloody nails. It makes you tough for whatever comes your way, that kind of weather, I reckon.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And the other thing is, you've got to be really, especially when it comes to a tough race, it's okay to do a half marathon for fun in the Mauritius or something. If you're doing that just for fun and not have a why. But if you're doing 130 Ks on the Isle of Skye or somewhere equally tough, you need to have a why, or not just a why,
but a drive.
A drive that will not allow you to DNF. I didn't have that. I wasn't nervous before the race. I'm like, oh, this is going to be fun. This is going to be an adventure, a challenge, and I love a good adventure, but that was not an adventure. It was just an exercise in suffering. Fest. Yeah. So I needed something stronger than that. And probably because I hadn't trained specifically for it. It's not like I could reflect on it and go, I've trained for 6 months for this race. Yeah. I hadn't. I trained for a month, only because of Barkley. I trained for, 4 months solid vert for Barkley, but it was not conducive to doing well at that race. So you've got to have something in you. And I say why, but I never have a why for my races. People say, what's your why? And I've had actually some guy on the internet, on Facebook once, because it was a discussion on whys. And I said, I never have had a why for any of my races. And he said, that's impossible. He commented on my comment and said, that's impossible. You can't run races without a why. I said, I've won races without a why. So I don't have a why, but I have a drive to finish, a drive to do well, a drive to push my body and see what I can achieve. But I had no particular drive because I wasn't fully invested in it. It wasn't a race I specifically investigated and chose. It was a friend who suggested it, and I went, oh yeah, okay, I'll do that one.
Yeah.
So I think next time I need to make sure that all the races I do are ones that I choose because I think it looks like a good challenge, and I'm like, yeah, that looks awesome.
Didn't we? What was the race that was a week earlier that we were like, oh, maybe we should?
Yeah, there was some ultra trail, Snowdonia.
Oh, Snowdonia.
Yeah, the snow, that would have been good.
Yeah.
Or the 215 mile across Scotland. But I kind of thought that that would be too long and would take away from our holiday. I kind of thought this was a good in-betweeny distance. I didn't want to have to spend 2 weeks recovering.
Yeah.
And honestly, 200 k's a bog, I don't know, 200 miles, I mean, oh.
Yeah. So, but luckily now, instead of all that recovery.
Yeah, because I would have been recovering this week.
That was
because, oh my God, my legs were sore from 35k because of the bog. You're just slipping and sliding and using muscles I didn't even know I had.
Yeah.
But yeah, we've been doing heaps.
So yeah, 3 days later, we're climbing Ben Nevis.
We did 23 k's in the Cairngorms yesterday, thousand men in climbing, which was really hard work. That took quite a number of 4 hours. Tomorrow we're going to do the Ring of Stahl.
Ring of Stahl, which is actually right next to Ben Nevis.
Yep. So, and that's like a ring of Munros, and Munros are mountains that are over, I think 900 meters.
Yeah.
And I think there's 4 Munros in that. As my friend from the UK was just telling me before, the challenge is to do 282 Munros, and I think it's 214 Wainwrights. Wainwrights are in England.
Yep.
Munros are in Scotland.
Unfortunately, we're not going to be here that long, and we can't squeeze them into
he
the next
lives here.
Squeeze them into the next
he lives here, and he still hasn't done all the Wainwrights, or he lives in the UK.
Yeah.
But it just, you've got to train in all elements. It makes you tough, and it tests your resolve. Do you really want this?
Yeah.
If you're training, if every time it gets a little bit hard, you take the easy option, what's going to happen in the race?
Yeah, that's right.
So I won't say I learned a lot from this race because these are things I know. It just reinforced those beliefs for me because I think to a certain extent I've got a little bit lackadaisical with all of my knowledge because it's like, oh, I just do a race and I finish and it's easy and blah, blah, blah. But it's reinforced and brought home for me that I still need to focus on these things. And I always say to people, respect the distance, respect the race. I need to respect the race more, not just go, oh, I'll finish. I'm tough. I can do this. No, I'm still a human being like everybody else. And I need to respect the distance like everybody else. And actually, I think I need to, it's helped me to realize that I've forgotten what the word is, but it's not take it for granted, but I'm asking you for help here. Don't just sit there like a numpty. So it's not take it for granted. It's whatever it is. Not take my ability to finish a race for granted, and know that it still it requires work from me. Like it's still hard, and I've faced challenges, and sometimes there'll be challenges I'm unfamiliar with, so my normal mental toughness won't work for it. Because you can't just muscle through cold weather like that. You have to find another strategy. Yeah. It's still mental, though. It's still mental because I gave up mentally. I don't know, I think I physically gave up. Because mentally I was fine until I got super cold. And then my brain went, oh, hang on a second. I actually started to worry about hypothermia. And I'm not one of these people, safety first. Everybody knows that. So I don't choose the safe option because it shits me. But I actually was scared for my safety when getting lost, and I was scared about hypothermia. And I just felt I was not prepared for that weather. I was not, mentally prepared how to make the decisions of what to do correctly. And because I started to freak out a bit, and I just felt like I was not mentally prepared.
And there were sections coming up that were going to be really exposed.
Yeah, and
for long periods of time.
Yeah, that's right, and also really difficult to navigate. And
yeah.
I had the map on my phone, but the phone was so wet, it wouldn't work.
Yeah.
The map on my watch was going mental. The map that I had a map and a compass, but when you can't see more than 50 meters in front of you, that's not helpful.
Yeah.
Other than knowing where north is, and but yeah. So I was concerned due to my lack of experience in that terrain. Because Australian terrain, I'm very confident with. American terrain, North American terrain, I'm confident with. This I was not confident with. I was able to read the bog a little bit, but I couldn't read it properly. I could have hurt, if I'd gone off trail too much, got hurt. So I felt like it wasn't the right thing for me. I think I would like to, if I was going to do that sort of a race again, I'd want to, get there a few weeks early and do some training on the course.
On the course, yeah.
Because it's it is so completely different to anything we have in Australia. Mm-hmm. So completely different.
Yeah. You'd want to, get dropped off in certain spots and run them.
Yeah, that's right.
Get picked up at the other end.
Yeah. So
because the only way you can know this stuff is to actually be there and run it.
Yeah, and that would make me feel a lot more confident in the terrain, in the sort of knowing where I'm going, and just that sort of that confidence with the terrain.
Yeah.
I feel
Yeah, I mean, but also you could tell that the weather was bad because even the locals couldn't handle it.
No, that's right. I mean, a 15 penny pill finished out of 100.
Yeah.
And I was thinking that, like I said, I would have gone well. I would have gone really well if I'd managed to finish, but then so would everyone else.
Yes. Yeah. The thing that stopped you from finishing was what stopped
everyone else
finishing as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah. And we noticed that in previous races that there hadn't been many finishes.
Yeah, and that it was a slow finish time. We're like, it's only 125 Ks. Why is it so?
Well,
like the winners were like in 20 hours.
The women's record was 22 hours.
And we're like
what? How can that be right?
Yeah, I'll tell you why. Bloody hell, 35K took me 5 hours and change.
Yeah, I mean the men's winners this week for this race went really well. It was like I think 3 guys that did really well.
Yeah. And we spoke to one of them at the start.
Yeah, and when I saw them at those coming through those aid stations, they were moving really well.
And they were British.
They were already a long way away.
Yeah,
a long way ahead. The guy that we spoke to actually lived in the Scottish, like in the middle of Scotland.
Yeah,
and trained on Ben Nevis. He said.
Oh, did he? Yeah. Oh my God! Then no wonder.
No wonder. So if they're not prepared for what's coming, then no one will.
Yeah, no, because it's not just mentally prepared. Like your skin, your body changes. Your body changes to adapt to that weather, and I was adapted to 28 degrees.
28 degrees and sunshine and humidity.
And humidity.
There was nothing humid about it.
Well, there was. It was wet. But yeah, it was just, oh my God. Yeah. So anyway, so that is the story of the Isle of Skye Ultra. But ultimately, not my takeaways, but my reinforced takeaways is train in all weathers, which I've always believed in. And I kind of before Barkley, I kind of felt training in the hot weather would make me tougher mentally for Barkley too. And I believe in that. That's what I'm saying. If it's hot, even if your race isn't going to be in the heat, at least be uncomfortable. Basically train to be uncomfortable because you're going to be that in the race. Obviously, look after yourself. Don't train in 40 degrees of that water. I'm not talking that kind of uncomfortable. Sensible uncomfortable, but yeah, and I've always done that. It's never stopped me before. That's why it was such a shock for me that I felt like I couldn't continue. And I've done enough racing to know what my body can handle. Like I'm very good at listening to my body. I'm not one of these people so attached to my watch I don't know how to listen to my body. I know how to listen to my body. And it was telling me this is not a good idea. Isobel, you are totally not suited for this, and you are going to just create a big issue.
Yeah.
And so I pulled out before it could become a big issue.
Yeah. So yeah, then we decided, on the drive back, then our holiday starts now.
That's no. And we went back to the room and we started planning our runs.
Yeah.
And then I fell asleep at about 7 o'clock. That was our longest sleep.
It was.
We went to bed at what, 7:30?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
And because we've been waking even now at 4:30,
yeah.
it's fucking annoying.
The first couple of mornings we were awake at like 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning.
And then it got to 4:30, and I thought, oh well, that means it'll slowly stretch out. No, we're still waking.
Still awake at 5 o'clock.
Yeah. And so we slept till like 6.
Yeah.
From like 7:30, 8 o'clock till 6. Like that was a lot. I was just shattered. That being in the cold for that long shattered me. So yeah, and I think Ron may have secretly been relieved that he didn't have to stay up all night. Because honestly, I would have finished 7 o'clock the next morning if I was lucky.
Yeah. And then we
had accommodation that we had to be out of by 10.
Hadn't really thought that one through.
Because I thought I would finish in about 22 hours.
So even if Isobel had finished, we would have had enough time to get back to our accommodation,
pack
our bags,
drive.
and leave, and drive for, was it 2.5 to 3 hours to our next accommodation where we are now.
Yeah.
So I was thinking about that, oh, that is not going to be a pretty drive.
Oh God. So
it's going to be a tough one.
It was a total mess. Like we really fucked that one up. We should have got there a bit earlier to the race, and we should have had another night there.
Yeah.
I mean, as it turns out, it's lucky we didn't.
Yeah.
But we really weren't prepared. That's what I mean. I don't feel like we were fully prepared, because I don't think I was fully invested. Normally I'm really anal about all this shit, and I just wasn't, which tells me
we thought more about the rest of the trip, and in particular where we are now.
And we're so looking forward to this bit.
And when we're down in the Lake District, the race kind of just was not an afterthought. It was a
forethought, but then it became an afterthought.
Yeah, but then we kind of skipped over it onto the next thing pretty quickly.
Yeah. So and that's why I'm saying every race you have to respect it, like give it 100% respect. And I just feel like I didn't, because I got a bit cocky, thinking, oh, well, it's just another race, I'll be fine. And no, it's not. It wasn't just another race, but by no stretch of the imagination was it another race. So, so that's my Isle of Skye Ultra shenanigans. And so now we are onwards and upwards. Tomorrow we'll do the Ring of Stahl.
And then we've got another
we'll do an 18K trail run on Friday. Then we've got a 30K trail race on Saturday that we will also film and create it in movie about.
Starting at Blair Castle. And it runs up to the top of one of the local mountains. Don't know which one. Can't remember.
A mountain and back down. It's about 1,000-meter climbing, and there's a whole run village at the castle. So there's going to be bands and food trucks and all sorts of fun. So we're going to have fun there, and it looks like it won't rain. Touch wood, because every time I say that, like on the start line for the Isle of Skye, I'm like, oh, it's great weather. These guys like, don't say that. You can't say that.
She just about had the whole race turn on her.
You cannot say every time I've said the weather looks good, it's shat itself. So we don't even say it anymore. I'm scared sometimes to even think, oh my God, it's nice weather. I'm like, stop thinking it. Don't even think it.
Because I mean, one thing we've noticed in Scotland is the weather changes from.
We think Melbourne weather changes a lot.
It can be beautiful sunny skies, and all of a sudden it'll get dark and start raining. And then 5 minutes later it'll be sunny skies again. So
it's super weird. I mean, it's Scotland. So anyway, hopefully the Blair Castle race will be not raining. And then we are, because that's kind of halfway to Glasgow, because we're leaving here to drive to Glasgow, and that was kind of halfway. We thought, why the heck not?
We'll do it.
So we're doing that, and we'll drive to Glasgow, and then some new adventures there. We're going to run to Edinburgh. Not from Glasgow. We kind of thought about it, but that's about.
It was about 80 k's.
70 to 80 k's, and we're like,
might be a bit too far.
Yeah, for a day jaunt.
Yeah, so we're just going to do 50 k's. So we'll drive part of the way, stop at a train station, run to Glasgow, Edinburgh, and then catch the train back to the car.
Run to Edinburgh, have some yummy lunch. We'll go visit Edinburgh another day to do the proper touristy stuff. But we're going to do that. We're going to go out to the Trossachs near Loch Lomond.
Mhm.
And then after Glasgow, because we're only there for like 3 days. I
Yeah.
don't know why we're going there. I can't remember our thinking process for half this
Yeah,
trip.
I think mainly it was just because it was a good area to explore from.
Yes, because we did want to do Edinburgh and we did want to
Yeah.
do some of the other things around there.
Yeah.
And then we're going to the Lake District and we're staying in Keswick, which is where all the Rhines normally start
Yeah.
from. So we'll get a photo in front of that famous building.
Yep.
And that should be a bit of fun. We're going to do the Yorkshire Three Peaks. I did that race as part of the World Championships back in the dark ages. And we will we're gonna do it just as a run, obviously, because it's
just for a bit of fun.
Yeah.
It's a good explore.
Yeah.
We're gonna run to the top of Skiddaw one
Yes,
day.
because you can run straight out of Keswick to Skiddaw, and then I want to do Scarfield Pike because that's the highest mountain in England.
Yep.
And yeah, so we're going to have some adventures there.
Yeah.
So stay tuned.
Looking forward to it.
Yeah. When we next go, we'll probably have only just gotten to the Lake District.
Yeah,
so
that's right.
So we'll be able to tell you about Glasgow and our run to Edinburgh.
Yeah.
All righty. Thanks for listening, everybody. We do appreciate it. We're going to go have a shower now because we still haven't had a shower.
We've had something to eat, but we haven't had a shower after our trip up Ben Nevis. So
yes, because I said
someone smells. I think it might be me.
Yes, I think it's more likely to be you than me. Because I said if I have a shower, I want to put my pajamas on, and I don't really want to do the podcast in my pajamas. So anyway, all right. Thanks for joining us. We will be back hopefully earlier by Friday next week. We'll see how we go.
We'll see how we go.
Yeah. All righty. Thanks, everybody.
Bye-bye.